how did you end up creating a course for LinkedIn? On this channel, I talk about people management subjects, like manager training, and sometimes I do role plays where I pretend to be a manager or HR in different situations to show how you can act. But one question I've got a lot recently is, wait, you're a LinkedIn learning instructor? How did that happen? So in this video, I'll talk briefly about how I ended up being a LinkedIn learning instructor, what the process is like, and how you can see my course. So how I became a LinkedIn learning instructor. So you can apply to become a LinkedIn learning instructor, and I'll include that in the description so you can see, so you can go on and submit that application. So I started around January of 2022 creating videos. You may have seen them on LinkedIn or Instagram or TikTok. I know I put them out there. So I started creating those. And so I ended up having a content manager from LinkedIn that reached out to me through my DMs and said that they'd seen the videos I put. Because LinkedIn, a lot of times it's like stories or pictures, but there hadn't been as much video. And so I started putting videos on there from time to time. And you may have seen, sometimes I'll do those kind of role play videos. And some people ask, like, weren't you nervous to press post? Like, absolutely. When I started posting videos, it was kind of this thought of like, oh, maybe this would be an interesting thing to do. But like a lot of things, you start putting things out there and are wondering, like, is anyone going to see this? Are they going to like it or hate it? And the answer is always all of the above. But I started using my experience in legal and HR and putting it out there. And for me, it was really a creative outlet that I hadn't realized how much I liked. And so I had a very, very small audience to start, and it started growing a bit. And still it wasn't huge on LinkedIn, but it caught the attention of a content manager. So a content manager for LinkedIn Learning, and I'll back up a little bit, that LinkedIn Learning is a platform where you can go on and see different courses. And there's all sorts of subjects. Like there's a lot of different courses on people management, but there's also really, really technical ones. I'll talk about just one of the instructors I met when I was out at LinkedIn, but it's a lot of really technical skills. And so if you're trying to learn like computer programming, or you're learning about some sort of technical aspect in a field, or sales, or preparing for a presentation, LinkedIn Learning has a ton of courses. And LinkedIn had purchased a company called lynda.com years ago that had already started to build up these courses. And LinkedIn has invested a lot of time and effort in getting different instructors to put courses out there. And so LinkedIn Learning, the way I've accessed it is by having a LinkedIn Premium membership. At other times, LinkedIn organizations can buy a subscription to LinkedIn Learning for their employees. You can also get free access through your library card. So I'll link some of those different things in the description as well. So again, so LinkedIn Learning is this platform that has all of these different videos. And so a content manager is someone that works for LinkedIn that has a category that finds some different instructors and looks through the applications as well to see who might be able to become a LinkedIn instructor. And I don't know if there's any magic to it. I mean, I put myself out there quite a bit and just had developed like a small niche. And so I think that helped me to get the attention of the LinkedIn Learning content manager, Allison, that I worked with. So she reached out. So I'm filming this in August of 2023. It was almost a year ago that she'd reached out. So just to give a perspective, because the one thing that I've really appreciated from LinkedIn Learning, having gone through this whole process, is that everything is focused on the learner. Meaning, like you or me or whoever is going to watch courses, it's all focused to make sure the production quality is good, the content is good, and it's really well packaged and succinct so that it conveys a powerful message in a really short period of time. In every conversation I had, from talking to Allison at the very beginning of the process, all the way through recording, was focused on what's the benefit to the learner. And it really helped me because, especially as someone that in the past had just recorded content, like I created a Manager 101 course. That's a more robust manager certification program. But I do a lot of that and have the editing done on my own. And so I'm talking to the camera, and so I'm not always used to having this bigger team. So having those around me to talk about, okay, let's focus on the learner, has really helped me, both overall, I think, as I think about recording even short videos, but it really showed me the effort that goes into every video on LinkedIn Learning. Like I appreciate that every time I look at them now. Okay, so LinkedIn Learning is a video platform, and I have been reached out by a content manager. Wow, how does that work? Some people will say, did you have to pay LinkedIn to appear? And no, lawyer Ashley will tell you that if I had paid LinkedIn to appear, I think there would be a disclosure on that, but it's not. It is an aspect where you are getting a royalty for appearing as a LinkedIn learning instructor, and so that's a nice benefit as well. But so when they reached out, I had the first conversation, and that conversation was talking generally. We'd like to potentially have a course. What could that look like? And so I started going through LinkedIn Learning as well and looking more into the course library to make sure that I wasn't going to propose something that had well been covered. And so even at the beginnings of that with the content manager, Allison, it was really a back and forth conversation. And she was doing a lot of work on her end. I was doing things on my end to make sure that we were really thinking through what would a good course be, again, for that learner. And so as we talked about it, we had a tentative title. I can't remember exactly what the tentative title was, but my course is coming out tomorrow is Daily Habits for Effective People Management. And it was kind of similar to that at the beginning. But so the way it works is first it was pitching this idea of a course. And then it was a spreadsheet of talking through different modules that I could have. Now, for me, as I thought about it, in the way I wanted to build this course was really to really quickly touch on different skills for managers. All this idea of things that they can implement, often on a really daily basis, to really quickly upskill themselves, so that a manager, as a learner, could log in and either watch the entire course or see some of the select videos and watch it in just a few minutes. Because another aspect of LinkedIn Learning that's a little different than some other courses is they often keep the videos very short. So as you look on LinkedIn Learning, they literally now have these nano courses you can see that are 30 seconds. But a lot of their courses as well may range from 30 minutes, hour, multi-hours. But a lot of times they're broken into little sub-modules. So they are really digestible. So you can watch them, pick up where you left off. And so as we were putting them together, it was going to be different modules and themes and sub-modules below that so that they were really quick. So this back and forth, I had to go through and basically submit ideas for all of the different modules, and this was working with my content manager, and then have learning objectives for each. So this focus on the learner is, what is someone going to take out of it? And LinkedIn has this whole language that they use that's really focused to make sure that it is specific and actionable. So it's not just by watching this, I'll have some good ideas that will make me think differently. No, it's by watching this, I will have, for one-on-ones, I will have 5 specific topics to cover in my next one-on-ones with members of my team. So actionable things like that to really get you thinking as an instructor, to keep that focus on the learner. So the whole process of LinkedIn is they have so many courses. I don't have a full number, but I'll try to find that and pop that in here of how many courses they have at this minute. But so they're always adding to the library. So there'll be, my course comes out tomorrow, August 29th. I imagine there'll be several other courses coming out at the same time. So they do keep it fresh. And so because of that, they have a team. And so it's back and forth. And so that's why a lot of these things can take a long time as well, because that team is looking and talking and making sure that they're checking with each other and looking at what feedback they've gotten from courses to make sure that all of the information going to learners is most powerful. So some of this back and forth just over a few months was spreadsheets, literally filling out, here's my ideas, here's the idea of learning objectives, and getting the feedback from the LinkedIn team. So once things go through the approval processes and you're good to go, that's when things really start cranking. So it was around the beginning of this year that I got paired with a producer. So remember, the content manager is one that is thinking in broad scopes, like a business category, and thinking about different instructors and topics to cover and things like that. So when you have a producer, so this person's role, and mine was Jake, was to really make that Excel spreadsheet that's come and been put in that form with a couple sentences for each module, put that to life. And that's when the work comes in. Because I tell people, again, every time I watch a LinkedIn course, I have so much respect for the instructor and everyone on LinkedIn that works on this team, because I know how much effort is involved. So how that works is with LinkedIn, I had basically a Google Sheet for each one of my modules. And so I ended up having, I'll have to check tomorrow, but 26 or 27 different of those small modules. Again, I'll have to find the exact number and put that in there. But it was a ton of these sub-modules. So for each one of them, I would then script it out. So it's not just a matter of showing up and talking off the cuff or the thought that comes along that day. And when I've done a previous manager course or when I've done my mini courses, I have those largely scripted out as well because there's points that I want to cover. But for LinkedIn, because it is filmed on set, and right now when I went, I filmed it in person in the studios, which I'll talk about, but they have everything built into the teleprompter. And so you have to have everything scripted out word for word. And this is one thing I say to people that are thinking about being a LinkedIn learning instructor, is if you think about being in high school or being in your professional career, if you've ever done something like an essay and gotten feedback or critique on it, or for the lawyers out there, if you've had a partner that's like, as a law partner, said to me when I was a junior associate, Ashley, I bled on it a little bit, meant there was red ink on it. If that idea of that makes you like super like nervous and like anxious, then the one thing about being a LinkedIn learning instructor is to know is that feedback is a huge part of it. And so what I loved in working with Jake, my producer, is that we would go back and forth. So I scripted out every single one, and I have different rolling deadlines. So I do different tranches of them, and I would try to do multiple of them at a time. And for each of them, writing this script, making sure the word count matched what the video length would be. Again, like 3 to 4 minutes per, thinking about how I speak and how many words per minute. And so I would do that. When it came back from Jake, virtually every single video just had so many different like changes or tips or topics. I think I remember one that had very little. And in my mind, I was like, ooh, I feel like I've like accomplished this. But because LinkedIn learning style really is like very specific, and these producers, this is what they do day in and day out, then they know what will resonate, what will come alive on camera. And so it was a really iterative process. So that's why I say, if you're thinking about being a LinkedIn learning instructor, but you like really get like kind of like about feedback, then know that there's a lot of feedback that comes in, and it's really all designed to make your course even better and better for that learner that's going to be watching it. And so having like no pride in authorship or being open to some of that was, for me, a really cool part of the process to hear someone give that feedback to me. So I worked on that with Jake. So we recorded, so I had all of those ready to go back and forth. And then in April, I flew out to LinkedIn's studios, which are Carpinteria, California, called CARP. And I was there from a Monday through a Friday, so a full week of recording. And I will say this, it is like a LinkedIn, like a Disneyland for leadership. Because when you're out there, there's so many studios. So while I was there, I mentioned that I'd mention another instructor. There was an instructor named Jim Rogers. Jim Rogers was sitting next to me in the makeup chair because every morning I got to start with hair and makeup. I'll include a little bit about this, is that I had to pick like a wardrobe that I would wear every day. And so in my mind, I was like, oh my gosh. So I went shopping multiple times. I'm not a big shopper, but I went so many times trying to figure out what I would get. Spoiler alert, the dress that I'm wearing in my video, I've owned for like 3 years and I've almost never worn. And so it was in my shelf. And so it's just ready for the right moment, clearly. And it's like this beautiful bright red dress that I loved and just hadn't really worn. But so anyway, so kind of funny. But so you had to wear that every day, and also had hair and makeup. So why I say it was like Disneyland for leadership, some of it was recording these videos and getting out there and meeting other leaders like Jim Rogers. So I sat down in the hair and makeup chair. I sat with Tanya, who was amazing, did my hair and makeup every day. And Jim Rogers was in the chair next to me, and I was talking to him, and I think he was filming his 41st course with LinkedIn. So of course I'm like, it's my first. But he was so nice and was like, oh, we do these, we have some instructor meetups, and it's a whole community. And so that was really cool. And so in this filming, literally the first day, they were like, don't worry, you may not film that many the first day because you're getting used to it. And so it can be like I was, drinking water and trying to like stay composed and also not be robotic. And so even though I'm used to filming, videos and quick ones on my own, a lot of it was like standing up there. So another spoiler alert is you could wear like super comfortable shoes, but I like to wear heels. And so I wore heels every day, just made me feel like I had like a little bit more presence. So my feet were totally nuts at the end of every day. But so we'd record, and we'd actually would only go through about like mid-afternoon. One, because every night the team is doing some of that editing work, And so that team was my producer, that was Jake in there, my director, Zach, Sebastian, who was amazing, who he played, so he was like the jack of all trades, doing so much with the video and coordination, giving tips. And he also played the Succession theme song before and after every break. And so all in all, it was like taking what I'd worked on, often like at nights, on the weekends. I mean, I spent so many hours preparing for it before going to film and just making it all come to life. And LinkedIn's campus was very cool. Like they had, they were making like bracelets for this nonprofit one day, and they have like a lunch catered. And at night I would go and like I'd do a little bit of work, but I felt so tired at the end of the day just from putting things out there. And so I would go to this awesome little beach cafe and have like clam strips and sit on the beach and like text a picture and sent it to my parents, because it just felt like, I don't know, it just was a very cool experience. So all of that to say, when I filmed it, I was like, oh great. So when does it come out? This was April of this year. So it was almost 4.5 months from when I filmed it to when it'll come out. And so some of the other things were like, there's quizzes to make sure that you drive the learnings home. So I worked with the team to have quizzes and everything ready to go, and a couple deliverables to help on that as well. So those deliverables or downloads are there so that the learners can have those to help kind of bring some lessons to life. So all in all, again, from when I started, it was almost a year, from like last fall to when they reached out, to putting things together on an Excel spreadsheet, having the scripts back and forth with Google Docs, going out to film, and then having a number of months where the LinkedIn team has been editing it. So I actually still have not seen the final product. So tomorrow when it comes live, and I'll link in here in the description of how you can see it, but it's going to be very cool as well. And one thing that's interesting is my intro and my outro. I actually recorded, those were the last things I recorded to make sure that we had a sense of the whole course before I recorded those. So I'm especially excited for my intro because they had me take a very personal story and tie it to the point of my whole course. So I guess I have to do a spoiler, not a spoiler, no. I guess I have to have a non-spoiler. So you'll have to watch it to see. And again, I'll link on how you can see the LinkedIn Learning course. But all in all, being a LinkedIn Learning instructor was such a cool experience because it's crystallizing something I've worked on for years and years and years and years. And then getting to work with the team to help to bring it to life and video it. Again, I can't recommend it enough as an instructor, but also as a learner, to go and see and know that every course that's on there is really designed to build up technical skills and to help you enhance whatever you're trying to work on. So please go and check out my course, and love to hear any feedback and any other questions on LinkedIn Learning. Feel free to drop those below.